So we're at the final stages now. This is my little coronation mouse. Her skirt's done, her ballet shoes are done. I've done some embellishment around and over the arms to hang down. And just a little tip, if you do want her to sit like that, I showed you earlier how if you sit her on the edge and felt her down, but also if you fell underneath, really felt under there, so she's firm, she will sit unaided. And just a little tip, if you're going to have this for your coronation table, just move it carefully. A cupcake, this is a standard candle jar. Cupcake on the top, and she will sit on there quite happily and make a lovely table decoration for your coronation. And you can put one on the bottom if you want to. Two here, so you could have one on the top and one on the bottom, and again pop her on there. Okay, so I'll just move it to one side. So we're going to do the features. Okay, so we're going to do all the connections now to the face. So you should have a pair of little ears. Now we're looking for a similar. Please don't try and do exactly the same because it will suck all the joy out of needle felting. I say that to everybody in my workshops. You're not a machine. Okay, so the idea with these, if you pinch at the edge, the best place to position the ears, I think anyway, is at the side, leaving so towards the back, but leaving a bit of space here in between. So before we do the attaching, just a couple of tips. So I like a little bit of contrast in the ears. So you can take some very fine wispy bits of pink and lay them towards the bottom. Now you might want to change your needle and go for a finer needle, a 40 or 42. You might find that a bit easier, and just very gently poke them in. Okay, so you can use that as one option. I've experimented a little bit with, this is a blush, a colour I used to wear many years ago. This is a blush here, and this is a fabric, like a fabric ink. So I like to use this. Now, I discovered this when I started making little heirloom dolls for the cheeks. So you can use, I have a little sponge applicator as well that I got in a pack, but this is a little bit big for this purpose. But these are good. I think I did my hair's recent make hair's nose with that. So you would just roll it in. So you just put enough onto there, and then literally, the best I don't do it on my mat. You hold it down, and I'm looking for a bit of pink at the bottom there, and I would dab it and move and dab and move, and I would do this just a tiny bit at a time, a bit more, and build the colour up rather than a big blob of it and then you're not happy with that. So on there now, just move that little piece. That's it. Okay, just be careful not to get it on your fingers, because then everything you touch is going to have a bit of pink. So you can see there. So when I pinch that, it gives that little bit of colour. I quite like that. So I think I can afford to come up a little bit higher with that. So I would do that on both the ears for attaching. Leave it for a little bit so that it can dry. You might have some little wispy bits on the edges. You know, I quite like the fact that it makes it look a bit natural, but if you don't like it, just with snippers or with some embroidery or dressmaking, small scissors, you can just go around and take some of those bits off if you want that to be a little bit neater. Now, what I would do then is put it on its side, and with a 36 or 38 needle, I would just felt that just at the bottom, just like the pinch line. So if you imagine the angle that I've got that needle at there, I'm just doing a little line along there. Don't do it for too long or it'll stick to your mat. Yeah. So you've got that nice shape now. So it just means that when I attach that onto the head, I haven't got all that messing about to do. You'll still need to hold it, you know, to keep it together. So the other suggestion I have as well is that just with a dressmaker's pin. So you have a look, put the head. I do this facing towards me because I find it easier. Take one of the ears. Again, you can use this tail bit that you've got on there and just have it to where you want that to be, and then pop a pin in to hold it. And then you can do exactly the same. Now I'm going to want that a bit more pinched in, but I can felt that more together once it's on there. And then do the same with the other one, pin it into place. And once you're happy with that, you're going to use these pieces that you've left on there to actually felt that into place. And once you've got it in where you want that, you can just gently pull on the fibres, or you can just felt them under if you've not got too many. So that's with that. That's with the ear. And then with the nose, again, if you've got any straggly bits, you can just trim. What I like to do with the nose, and again, I'll use my finer needle, I like to just felt a little bit of an indent so that when I add the colour to that, it's a little bit firmer. Now, if you want to add wool at the end of that nose, you're literally using tiny, tiny, tiny pieces, and you're popping them over and you're felting that in, and you keep felting in until they're secure. You can use your needle to wind the little straggly bits up and felt in. And you do that until you can see a pink nose. But I'm going to I'll do a bit more felt in there at the end. Just keep turning it just so that I've got that just a bit more defined, the end of the nose. And then I'm literally going to get my colour again and just gradually build that colour up at the end. And I'll do that. You probably won't be able to see it till I take a photograph of this because it's quite a light pink, but it's beginning. And if I can see, Just build that up until you're happy. You're happy with that. Now, if you have little bits that are poking out, let it dry for a little while, and then you can get your scissors and you can just cut those, or equally you can just use your felting needle in there, and then just make sure you wipe your felting needle after. Okay, so that's an alternative way of putting a nose. So I'm just going to put that to one side to dry. You can use blusher in the same way. I wouldn't use any of the liquid blushes, because I you know, you've got that issue of it drying. This fibre and fabric ink is good because it does dry. You can use the felt, the pink felt, but I guess it's, you know, if you don't have pink felt and you don't want to buy a big pack just to do a nose, it's an alternative that that you can use. You can get really cheap blushes and things, and this isn't too expensive either, and it's just a good thing to have. Okay, so I'm just going to let that dry, and then I'll show you how to attach the ears and the eyes. Okay, now, so you have the face, your nose on, and these are the ears. So I suggested earlier that the best position for the ears is at the side and on the top. So if I just hold these in place, we're looking about there. And I suggested as well that you could use pins to put them in place and attach them. So do one at a time. And if you fold the ear over and on a slant, just felt that together, it does keep it in place a little bit, you know, the pinching part of it. That's what I've done with this one. So then you put it into position, and with the little bit of fluffy bit, I'm just gonna bring that out a little bit more. That can go around the back of the head. I'm just going to gently poke. Use a 38 or a 36 for doing this. Now, what I want to do to start with is just place them, so you can poke going from the top as well. I don't want to felt it too hard, because it gives me an opportunity to move that around if I want to do that. So I just move that out of the way for a minute. And then I'll get the other one, just get it level. Okay. I'll just fan that out a little bit. To the side and the back. Level. And again, just gently poke. So you can pinch. Sorry, just I was out of camera then. Just gently poke. So you can pinch. You put it down a little and poke it in. And I would suggest you just do this really slowly. Keep checking, pinching down, and you felt in. You can felt, once you're happy with the position, felt down the ear, because that will help to create that pinching effect. You can pinch it together. Just watch your fingers. The same with the other side. Pinch it together. And then just see if you're happy with where they are. So I think with mine, I can afford to bring them down just a little bit more to the side. So I just hold in the middle And do that. The same with the other one. And then just have a check. So they're looking not too bad. Don't worry about this fluffy bit. If you just slant your needle and poke the felt in. So you continue to felt those in now in the position that you're happy with. Again, if you want them more pinched, you just pinch them together and felt down in the middle. You can felt at the back, pinch them together, watch your fingers. Okay, but you're wanting to keep that nice curvy shape at the back. Now, once you've felted them in place and you're happy, if one's higher than the other, you can felt it down by just going down the ear and felt that in, and that will get them level. So once you've finished and you felted all that loose off, get another little piece of wool, very fine, and lay it over and just felt it. And you might need to do a couple of those. Make sure you keep the shape. So I'll leave you doing those, and then we're going to do the eyes and the whiskers. Just a little tip once you've added the ears, I actually like that little bit of fluff in the middle. So if you get some wool really short, pop it on the top and then just really gently, very gently stab it. Sorry, poke it. Don't stab. And you get that like little fluffy effect there, which I quite like. I like that, and just coming down the face a little bit with that. You just poke quite gently. So you should be there now with your little ears on, and you're ready for the eyes. So you can carry on a little bit, add a little bit of fluff. You can put a little bit of fluff in the ears if you want to do that too. Okay, I'm just gonna felt a little bit more around that nose that I did earlier. It's perfectly dry now, just to give it a little bit more definition. Okay, so we're going to put eyes now on either side. So I'm using plastic eyes. If you don't have those, you can use black wool. Less is more as well, ladies, tiny amounts. If you've not got black wool and you have black thread and a needle, you could do a little French knot on there. If you just Google French knot, they're quite simple to do. You see the size of that, and the easiest way is to pick that up with your needle. What you need to do, you go in the kind of like on the side for a mouse, you're going through. Now if you do this, you're more likely to get them in the right place than if you try them freehand. Now again, what you can do with that is take that out and put a little pin in on either side, and it will show you. So I can see the needle hole there, and you will put that in. And because I'm doing plastic, ladies, I'm not going to do this. So you will just keep felting and felting until that becomes really tiny. And then you can create by just going around the area where the eye is and just felting round. You can make that little indent that's in there, makes it look a little bit more realistic. So however you're doing your eyes, whether you're going to do just with the wool or you're going to put the plastic in, after doing that, just a little indent around, and again around your nose, just a little indent. Okay, So you need an awl or an old needle and go from one side through to the other. Make the hole. And there, so on mine, I'm just going to get some plastic eyes for that, and I'm going to pop the eyes in there. I'll use a little bit of the Gorilla Glue on the ends. I am going to do a workshop showing how to make your own eyes and little beaks as well. I use a clay, an artist clay, and paint mine and glue on them. And I've actually got the little beaks that I made for my robins at Christmas. So they're really easy to make, and it just makes things like that a little bit cheaper for you. So I'm going to leave that in for a minute, and I'll just get my plastic eyes and pop them in. So we're going to add the whiskers, and the easiest way of doing these is getting a piece of fine wool. I'm using merino here. You can hardly see it. It is just very, very fine strands. And I'm going to lay that over the top of the nose. If you do it about halfway in terms of your length, and with a fine needle, so I'm using a 42 here, just very, very gently fell in. If you do your needle at an angle, you're not going to get holes. Very gently. And just keep doing that until they're secure. You can move them a little bit, just give them a little bit of a touch to see what they're like. On the other side, hold it upwards to the light, and you can see, and you can move them along and just felt them in. So the idea then is you get some towards the end of the nose and some upwards. Just take your time with this. Just poking the felt. Keeping your needle slanted. I think once you get the eyes in and you've got that nose done, the ears are on, and now you're doing the whiskers, I think it really does bring it to life. And just keep gently felting that in. Now, once you're at a place where you think, I'm happy with that, you can go up slightly with your poking to bring some whiskers up near the top. Again, just very gently. And just be careful, I just caught a few underneath. I'm just going to go underneath the chin. So once you're happy with that, you can just trim them. I always do that at an angle. And you'll see they'll kind of curl and move, and they look quite lifelike. I've even got some really tiny ones there at the end, so I'm happy with that. And then again on this side, just use your needle to bring them apart a bit. And if you need to felt them in a little bit more, you can do. Okay. So I'm not going to mess about with that. I'm going to leave it like that, because once I've got it positioned on the head, then I can play about with that a little bit more. So you're at the stage now where you need to attach the head. So I like to do this at a slant. So if I show you from the side, let's move my junk. My needle down, hold it by the ears. I like to do it downwards like that. So this is where I will be using my dowel, my awl, sorry, I keep calling it a dowel, I don't know why. My awl, I make a hole there and then fit it in. So you want it more towards the back than you do the front. So probably midway there is where you're looking to add that. And if I do that at that angle, its head is down a little bit, and I just think it looks better like that rather than up. Yeah. So I'll just position it again. I'm looking about there. And I have the dart. So the easiest way to do this is to put it on its side and then move it slightly. And then I'm just going to make a hole. So this is where it's important that you've actually felted that quite hard, because otherwise there's no way you're going to make a hole. I'll be really careful that you don't go all the way through to the other side. Now, if you do, it's not the end of the world. If you do go all the way to the other side, just layer it with pieces of felt and you won't see it then. So I'm just moving this around because that's quite thick, a thick piece. So when I'm doing this, what I like to do is a little bit like when we go to the hairdressers and just protect, just in case, because I don't want glue, I'll just put a hole. This is, you know, the wet wipes that you can get. I just left one out to dry. It's the floor wipes because they're a bit thicker, but they're handy for covering things. So I'm just going to do that spine like that. You find the wool will start creeping, just start creeping together. And don't worry too much about squashing the face, because you can move it, maneuver it back once you get this stuck on. So I'm going to put some glue on that. I'm going to get my mouse. Go. Now, it doesn't take long for this glue to set. So if you're using the Gorilla Glue, just make your decision quite quickly. And I can just literally that. And just make sure that's where I want it to be, which is okay. So I've got a little bit of just playing around, shaping, and I've got mine slightly to the side, which you'll see once it's sat later. So I find it easier to just sit them on something while you can see. So if I sit it on here, I can see it better then. So, you know, do I want that ear up a little bit? I can, because this is still on a pipe cleaner, I will be able to bend that a little bit more, but I'm going to let my glue dry before I do that. there's some little wispy bits, so you know, do it again to a slant. Where are my whiskers? Yeah, my whiskers are still there. Just move them out a little bit. You can add more as well of the whiskers if you want to add more, which I might do. The eyes are okay there. So other than a little bit of prettifying with that, I think I'm happy with the end result. So there are lots of different ways you can display this. I've shown you a way of doing this for the garden party. I buy reclaim wood, so that's another way. So I would stick that, if you just glue the bottom of the mouse, and I would just stick that on. There you go. I just stick it on. Just stick it on like that. And you can see at the back as well. Stick it on. The back's quite nice as well. I mean, you could add more embellishments if you wanted to. The other thing is, you would have seen on a couple of the ones that I shown you earlier, adding little wings. That might be really nice. Now you can buy feathers. You can actually buy wings like this that you add on. So you could do that again. You just glue them on, or you could get the little feathers, and you can just use a few of these and glue them on, a few at a time on there. They're quite nice as well on there. So there's a few ideas there, but I think she's really quite pretty. So I hope you've enjoyed the make. Please, if you have, comment on my channel. Follow me at Sally Bonnie Fibre Art on Facebook and Instagram, and please share your makes with me. Happy making. Thank you.